week's episode of The Voice Party is brought to you by Big Boy Wraps. Get your car wrapped by some of the most experienced and skilled in the Bay. Big Boy Wraps, where the big boys play.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Voice Party Podcast. I'm here with Joaquin. What's up, Joaquin?
How's it going, JD? It's all good.
You got too much energy. Tone it down. Tone it down. You got too much energy for this fucking early in the day, man. How you doing, Phil?
Exhausted. It's been a long weekend.
I know, man. I don't know how you're doing it without fucking coffee.
I'm fueled by sadness and depression.
Yeah, that worked for me too. So we're here. A guest canceled on us last minute, as you do.
Nothing we haven't dealt with before.
It's all right, man. That's what we do. This shit regardless. We love doing this shit. And then
Do we? Because some days it feels like a job.
2 out of 3 voice party members.
Some days it feels like a job, but
yeah,
2 out of 3. Yeah, I'm like, that's like when you have that one dentist that doesn't recommend Colgate for some reason. That's me right now.
Why doesn't he recommend Colgate?
You know where they're like, 3 out of 4 dentists recommend. It's like, who the fuck is the one that doesn't?
I saw a sketch.
The one that doesn't uses like fucking actual coconut oil and like blended. I don't know. You know how to make? Do you know how to use natural toothpaste?
I mean,
no.
baking sodas, as far as I know.
Baking soda, and like some people mix in coconut oil and like actual fucking leaves from mint.
Oh,
yeah, that's that fucking fourth one, dude.
There we go. My mic had way too much bass. I had to pull down the bass on.
I don't know. You could do that with your fans.
So that's what that 1 out of the 4 is doing. He's just making his own.
He's making his own.
Like
or he's like, toothpaste is bullshit. All you need is the brush and water. Anyway,
so like I saw this skit of a guy who's playing like multiple characters in this sketch, and it's like there's a dude who's like, all right, so how do you think about the new tooth? It's called the one dentist that's being difficult. What did you think about? Oh man, it tastes great. It's everything. All right, what did you think about it? It was very minty. I love it. Oh yeah, no, this is great toothpaste. All right. How about you? Did you like it? And the dude's like, I didn't say I didn't like it. Oh, okay, great. All right, so we're all in agreement. We can all put our marks down. I didn't say I did either. Do you like it or not? Why do you want to know what I think? Because it's the survey. It's so what do you think? Stop being weird. Ask me about it. Well, what do you think? And dude's just like, I don't really. Come on, man. Look, I gotta take my son to an appointment. Can we please?
Again, take it down with the energy right now.
God,
I'm just kidding.
The adults have been working all weekend.
Oh, jeez. What is that sound?
What's that?
It sounds like you're fucking talking to us through a helicopter and you're about to fucking bomb us and shit.
What the hell?
Yeah, your microphone sounds weird, bro. Anyway, so that sounds like a complicated skit. Maybe it's I'm tired, but that sounded like a lot. I lost you. It was a lot of...
The one dentist goes, I didn't say that I didn't like it. And it's, oh, great. And then the same dentist goes, I didn't say that I did. So the complicated thing is like we can't move on from the rest of our workday until you give us an answer, and the dude's being difficult about giving an answer of approval. So that's what happens when you have the 3 out of 4.
Speaking of approval and dentists, that's what I'm going to use to segue into Batman.
I mean, Batman's teeth have to be right.
Hey, no, for real.
Right?
So you guys went to go see Batman. I'm an outsider. I don't know anything. I don't care about spoilers, but at this point, I don't give a fuck about really like. This is what the 5th Batman we've had since in our lifetime.
Live action.
Adam West, Michael Keaton.
No. In our lifetime.
I count Adam West.
No, don't count Adam West because that wasn't your lifetime.
That was the 60s.
But Michael Keaton. But the reruns, still see the reruns.
Michael Keaton.
Val Kilmer.
Wow, that was the second one? Yeah. Oh, shit, it was. Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm. George Clooney. Christian Bale. Ben Affleck. That's a whole hand right there.
And now this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Are we only doing live action?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Conroy would just steal the whole show.
Kevin Conroy's voice would steal the show.
Yes.
I could beat up Kevin Conroy. Okay. What'd you guys think of fucking Glitter Vampire Boy as...
Robert Pattinson has been putting in work.
Yeah.
And
that doesn't make you good.
I mean, it's been good work though.
Okay.
Like he's been giving
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse is one of them. He's been given standout performances to distance himself from Glitter Vampire Boy.
By the way, I just like to apologize to the listener for that weak segue. Phil didn't want to talk about Batman. You wanted to
because by the time
Batman.
this episode drops, the movie's not even going to be in theaters.
We don't
anymore.
have to just talk about the movie. Batman's got an 80+ year history. We could do an episode on Bruce Wayne the character.
Well, not really.
If we wanted. No, there are entire comic book podcasts.
Yeah, but that's not
that do that. And we're a variety show.
That's why I don't care about spoilers, because I'm not a big Batman fan like that.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews that it sucked, that his performance sucked, and like at this point I don't really give a fuck about Batman. The last Batman I
Do you want to go first? Because you know how I feel.
Yeah, you go first.
The last Batman I gave a fuck about was Christian Bale, and I thought that was the best Batman so far.
Oh damn! Really?
Yeah.
'Cause I think Christian Bale's the worst Batman.
Ben Affleck sucked.
Ben Affleck's the best Batman. What are you talking about?
Oh,
it's like Affleck and then Keaton.
No. Hey, fuck. Okay. Look wise, Ben Affleck was dope. The look.
His suit was perfect. I loved how his Bruce Wayne and his Batman, like when he's in Batman v Superman, when he's at fucking Lex Luthor's, but he's pretending to be a fucking drunk asshole, and then snaps back into Batman mode when he's trying to fucking decrypt the information or whatever. Like, he had the balance between Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Nailed.
Are you done?
I quote his Batman all the time when we're talking about Democrats.
Christian Bale looked like his physicality fits more of what Batman would be like, in my opinion, because he was fit, but he wasn't bulky.
All right.
Right.
You can't be fighting if you're gonna be bulky.
You can't be that fast and bulky. Yeah.
and that fast. Like fucking what's his Ben Affleck's Batman would have gassed out in a fight.
You didn't see the fucking workout scene in BVS where he's flipping tires and doing pull-ups and shit? He was
get
juked.
the fuck out of here with that shit. That kind of bad. Like when people see, that's what perfect thing. When people see like these, there's a small ass fighter, Leo Santa Cruz. He's tiny, like probably shorter than fucking Marcos' skinny ass. And they did a comparison with this other big dude. I forgot, wasn't a boxer. And they did the punch, the weight comparison. The small boxer's punch was like over 1,000, and the big dude was like 7 something. And I'm just saying, all right, like a realistic Batman was Christian Bale, in my opinion.
I mean, as far as appearance, sure. Like
appearance, he did.
My father often complains about things like, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is too short to play Tony Stark because Tony Stark's tall in the comics or whatever. But here's what I'll say. The
suit was tall.
Yeah. But here's what I'll say. It's focusing on the performance alone. I think that Christian Bale was a great Bruce Wayne. You know, because he is playing a smart man pretending to be a dumb, shallow socialite very well. And I think that when he's in the Batcave as like Batman Bruce, he's also great. My only critique about his performance in those movies was the throat cancer. And I get that it's hard to figure out a way to differentiate your vocal cords and be menacing, and it's hard. But like, you know, the whole I'm gonna die in 6 months, like okay.
But that's realistic. I mean, I did like the voice changing machine, but
yeah, because Affleck used the voice modulator, which is what they do in the comics. In the comics, he has a voice modulator and a cowl. But like, so here's my thing. Like, going back to Keaton.
Who directed this one?
Matt Reeves. The guy who did the Planet of the Apes movies, the new ones.
All right, okay.
Sorry. Here's my thing. Going back to like Keaton, right? Michael Keaton would talk about in interviews how like Sam Hamm would put like speeches for Batman in those Tim Burton scripts, and he would just be like, I should say less here. The more I say, the less intimidating I am. I should say less. I'll just look here. I won't even say this paragraph. I'll just give a look. Right, and it worked. Mm-hmm. Right, and he got a lot across with just his eyes and just his body language. And the less he said, the more intimidating he was. And then you look at Christian Bale with his fucking scratchy ass voice.
Where are they?
And he's making these fucking long ass speeches. You would never give it to an ordinary citizen. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was annoying. But like,
I mean, Batman does talk in the comics, though. To be fair. You know,
yeah, but not with that fucking voice.
That's true. That's true.
What, is he not going to talk?
Yeah.
Now,
the voice was bad. I'll be honest. I didn't like either of his suits.
Who?
Christian Bale
suits.
I didn't like either of his suits.
Yeah, it was realistic. It was realistic because there was a big head, Like, yeah, it's supposed to be bulletproof with the fucking plastic shit.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be bulletproof, and Michael Keaton shit just rips off.
Now, what I will say about Michael Keaton is that I remember him being great as Batman, but I don't really remember much about him. I feel like his Bruce Wayne was a little like they built him in the movie to be like a weird recluse. And that's not normally how Bruce is portrayed. I actually prefer Bruce to be an extrovert, somebody that you wouldn't think
is a hero.
Yeah. And whereas opposed to like, okay, this weird dude who lives by himself and is butler in a mansion, I bet you he's the guy going out at night beating up criminals because he seems like the wild type to
that's
do
what
that.
That's what like
right?
Christian Bale's Superman Batman was a dick. Remember that scene in the first movie where he says you freeloading, you know?
Right.
That was like that probably for me. Batman Begins is probably one of the best Batman movies, and I'll rank the best Batman. Christian Bale for me is number one because Christian Bale could act circles around Ben Affleck. First of all, let's not even like
Affleck could be the shark in Jaws. That's how good he is.
Affleck.
Yeah, because he's not gonna say any fucking lines.
Affleck.
Did you see Argo? Did you see The Town? Did you see Gone Girl?
Okay,
Gone was great in Gone Girl.
All those movies, The Machinist, American Psycho, the performances just on those two alone shits on everything Ben Affleck's ever made. Have you seen Vice?
I have not seen
played
Vice.
Dick Cheney, dog.
Holy
Dick
shit.
fucking Cheney, and like that alone, that performance was fucking like he played the devil, dog.
Ben Affleck has been Daredevil, Superman, and Batman.
And then we're about to see.
But was he good in all of those?
I thought he was good in Hollywoodland as George Reeves.
Yeah, no, though he was great.
We're about to see Christian Bale in a Marvel movie. He's gonna be
Gore, the God Butcher.
Yep.
I'm excited about that.
That's gonna like
the premise of that character is really dope. I don't know if they're
Christian Bale's a great fucking actor. Dude.
Yes,
like that
he's an
dude.
amazing.
He's on that level of like, I consider him like, he's probably gonna be like an Al Pacino in our time.
I think Christian Bale, like I said it before, I'll say it again. I think he's an amazing Bruce Wayne. I both in and out of the cave. I think the Batman voice turned me off a bit, but it wasn't enough to check me out of the movie. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this is so horrible, I can't watch these. Because in truth, I've seen The Dark Knight multiple times, both in the theaters and at home.
Masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
You can't call any of Ben Affleck's Batman movies a masterpiece.
And here's the thing:
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
If we're going to talk about performance, when they cast Ben Affleck to be Batman and people had their reaction, I was like, people who were angry about the idea of Ben Affleck playing Bruce Wayne obviously haven't seen most of his catalog, because there's two things that Ben Affleck does well: it's anger and mope.
Yeah, he was married to Jennifer Garner at the time.
Right. So of course he'd be a great Batman. And all that, that
he's
just
intimidating.
Yes, and the mopey angriness of like, I lost my parents, never again. Like that's Ben Affleck's middle name. I think that he was a solid Bruce Wayne. As Phil pointed out, he was Dickie, and he was, as far as the way he performed Batman, he was a solid Batman. I just want to see him be Batman in a better film.
You know who would have been a great Batman?
Yeah.
And when he was young?
Who?
What's that guy that just shot an actress? Alec Baldwin.
He was the Shadow. That's kind of like Batman.
Young Alec Baldwin
would have made a great Batman.
Great Bruce Wayne and a great Batman.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Here's my problem with the Nolan films. And I know already I can see your blood boiling.
The Dark Knight's the best Batman movie ever.
You won't hear an argument
I
from
think
me.
89 is the best Batman, and then The Dark Knight.
89?
The first one with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger. I still think that's the best one, and then The Dark Knight.
Go start the burgers, guys.
Oh my god! Well, no, so here's
the fucking cheesy dance numbers by fucking Joker, like that.
It works for Joker.
Nah, not for me.
Here's my issue with the Nolan films, right? So The Dark Knight.
are my number one.
The Dark Knight takes place a year after Batman Begins, right? Because I think they mentioned that in a line of dialogue. It's been a year since Batman showed up.
Yeah.
And then he retires immediately after that film and goes into seclusion for like 10 years until The Dark Knight Rises.
That's realistic.
So in the context of this universe, this guy dressed up as a bat for like 13 months, went on a wild bender, and then called it quits.
That sounds realistic. Your fucking body would be, and his body was deteriorating.
Yeah, his body was fucked up.
That just makes sense. Like, yeah.
I mean, Christopher Nolan was.
You live in the comic book world too much, my friend.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not against doing a film that's more comic book accurate because, if anything, Matt Reeves had said that someone had asked him, I guess, if he was ever going to get around to doing Clayface, which is weird because someone asked Christopher Nolan the same thing. Apparently, it's like, please make the Batman versus Clayface movie. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I actually want it. Same thing, Chris Nolan. He's like, I want to do a very realistic, really grounded Batman. Here's my issue with that philosophy. I think that filmmakers have it in their heads that if you do a Mr. Freeze or a Clayface, it has to be over the top and silly like the Joel Schumacher movies. Yeah. Like you have to have these.
Joel Schumacher did the 2 sequels?
Yes, he did.
Oh shit.
Which is why.
But he also did Falling Down and Lost Boys. Yeah. People forget that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
people think he just made Batman and Robin.
It's not that Joel Schumacher can't direct good films. I just think it's his attitude toward the source material that made him go, fuck it. Because he's like, we're making a cartoon, people don't take it seriously.
That was also a studio mandate. Because parents fucking threw a fit after Batman Returns.
Just like they threw a fit with the original comics.
And so, with Seduction of the Innocent. And so Warner Brothers had to backpedal and be like, all right, we got a lot of parents upset that we made fucking Happy Meal toys and Kenner action figures based off this really dark adult movie. So we need to lighten this shit up because those are revenue streams that make us more money than the movie actually does.
Yep. And like the thing is like, yes, Batman is the greatest detective, and he does go after bank robbers and serial killers and like street level gangs, right? I mean, both from the 2 crime families that start off in Gotham that he starts beating in the first couple years of his existence, and also gangs like, the Joker has a gang, Two-Face has a gang, but he also faces off against like the crazy cryogenicist who has an ice gun, and he also faces off against the clay monster who morphs into things. The key, in my opinion, like if I was going to do a Batman series of movies, I would start off with the crime street level stuff, build up to the wilder stuff, but also focus on good character development, because the thing that hooks me in to somebody like Clayface is not that he can morph into really cool shit. It's that he's a former actor who suffered tragedy. This is a guy who wants to be normal.
That'll do it.
You know what I mean? Like
Tobey Maguire line in that'll do it.
So, like, Mr. Freeze is a dude who lost his wife due to corporate greed and shenanigans. There's a great story in there. Yeah. But for whatever reason, the animators, got those stories and made them, like, I can watch Heart of Ice and get emotional because it's like this dude is sitting there in the cell hopeless, and he's a voice that didn't have a voice until he started acting crazy. But if I watch Batman and Robin, where they basically lifted the story from there, I don't feel that way. It's the goofiest shit I've ever seen.
But they had the best Alfred though.
They did.
That was the best Alfred.
Here's my thing. I'm not really a fan of like super realistic Batman.
Okay.
Because Batman is the type of person where you look at his rogues gallery, it's not just fucking Joker and Two-Face and Penguin. It's Clayface and Man-Bat and Killer Croc. So, not only that, when you look at Batman himself in the comics, he's fluent in every language known to man. He's mastered every form of martial art.
He's like Jason Bourne.
He's mastered every form of martial art. He got a perfect score on the SAT and the criminology entrance exam. Like
he's like Jason Bourne.
He's a master of everything, which is impossible. Nobody could do that. So Batman himself is a fantastical character, and when people try to make him realistic, you lose the appeal of Batman. Like we needed that with the Nolan films because coming off Batman and Robin, it pulled it in so far in one direction. We needed to pull the pendulum in the other way. But now we're at the point where it's like, can we just embrace like how awesome Batman is instead of trying to fucking neuter him and make him realistic all the time. He's not a realistic character.
But that's what sucks about like keeping him that way, because then there's no flaws to him and then there's no character development.
I'm not a fan of that either. Like OP Batman, where he like he doesn't have any flaws.
He's got a human
contingency plan for everything.
I mean, you have to get and the reason that Batman is overpowered in the books is because he's been doing this for so damn long. But if you're doing a movie series, you have the opportunity to build that up and go from like A to B, and really show that.
Going back to this, I think Christian Bale's Batman was the best Batman. But okay, fuck all that right now. I just want to say this. What was our rating system? 5 balloons, voice party balloons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you give this?
The new Batman. Yeah. So let me preface this by saying, I'm really sick of like origin story Batman. Yeah. Because we got that in '89. We got that in Begins. We got that in Mask of the Phantasm. They did a year 1 animated movie, and now we have. Well, this takes place in year 2, so this is second year as Batman. But it's still that whole I'm still figuring out how to be Batman thing, and I'm really sick of that story. Which is another reason why I like Affleck, because it's like he's already been Batman for 20 years. He knows how to do this shit.
It's implied he's had at least 2 Robins at that point.
So it's like I'm really sick of. I'm still trying to figure out how to be Batman because I've seen that story so many times. It's like, can we move the fuck on?
Yeah, like Spider-Man.
It would be nice if we got to like Robin and Nightwing eventually. Jesus Christ.
I mean, you could expect that if it were a Marvel property, but DC is just like, no, we're never giving you the extended anything.
So there were things about this movie I liked. There was a lot of things about this movie I didn't like. I think I was telling you, I put this movie on par with Batman Forever. It was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. If I had to rank the films, I would say '89 is number 1, and then The Dark Knight, and then Batman v Superman, and then this, and then Batman Forever. And then
Batman versus Superman.
The extended cut fills in a lot of holes, and the extended cut is great. I can't put Zack Snyder's Justice League because that's not a Batman movie. At least Batman's name comes first in BVS, so I'm going to count it.
Superman threatening to murder
Ben Affleck.
Batman.
Ben Affleck.
I didn't say it was a good Superman movie. I said it was a good Batman movie.
You really said Ben Affleck's Batman never got his own movie.
That's true. He never got a solo movie.
Maybe that's what I.
Because Warner Brothers broke his spirit. Like, so here's.
Let's
dive into this.
Let me bring this up. Because let me bring this up. Right, as we know, like they went into production on Justice League right after BVS, and then they were going to go right into Ben Affleck's solo Batman film, which he was going to write, direct, and star in.
Which the Batman was going to be, right?
Yeah, and then there was the whole shit with them bringing in Joss Whedon and then trying to do rewrites while they're filming to lighten up the film to make it more like Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman made $1 billion while they were filming Justice League. And they're like, oh shit, we should just do that. And tried to do a course correction halfway through filming. And then he's dealing with being married to Jennifer Garner and his alcoholism and then all these studio mandates. And it broke the man's spirit. And he walked away from the role and fucking quit being Batman. And then Zack Snyder convinced him to come back to finish the real version of Justice League. Right?
He had to go to rehab, right?
He did. Being married to Jennifer Garner will do that to you. Right?
Don't give him too much credit now.
Well, here's
Phil.
Well, here's the thing. We know,
or give her too much credit.
Or him. Like, it's all these things.
It's all her fault.
Well, it's everyone's fault.
It's all these things. It's all these things at once. But what we know about.
That's the one time you don't blame a Democrat for something.
I don't know Warner Brothers' political affiliation.
No, that's Ben Affleck.
No, well, either way. So here's
sense. Oh yeah, it never makes sense. It is his fault. He's a Democrat.
Wrong is wrong. Right is right.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. What we know about Ben Affleck's film, because Joe DiMaggio was going to play Deathstroke. He was going to be the villain in the film.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Ben Affleck's solo Batman film.
The one they were planning.
Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah, he played Deathstroke in the post-credit scene on Justice League.
That's not his name.
What's his name?
That's the baseball player.
What's his name? what's his?
Joe Manganiello.
That's what it is. Yeah, something like that. It was Joe something.
I was like, wait, the old dead baseball
They
player?
resurrected him with a
I knew it was something.
Lazarus Pit.
But we know he was going to be the villain in the film. The Deathstroke was going to be the villain, and he said in interviews that the story revolved around Deathstroke figuring out that Bruce Wayne was Batman, and then systematically like destroying his life and targeting his loved ones.
That would have been interesting.
And then Jay Olivia, who directs all the DC animated films, said Ben Affleck's Batman script was the best Batman story he'd ever read, and he does all the DC animated films. So that says a lot.
Yeah, that's high praise.
And then Matt Reeves had said, when he just recently after the film came out, he was like, well, Ben Affleck's script, it was a lot like a James Bond movie with superheroes. There was a lot of action and set pieces. There was cameos from other DC heroes, and I just didn't want to do that. And I'm sitting here like, I kind of would have rather seen that film, if I'm being honest. A James Bond film with starring Batman, I would have much rather seen that.
That sounds appropriate.
It does, and Batman material can definitely skew that way. And it's weird because DC said that this Batman film that came out was going to have nothing to do with any of the DC extended universe,
which is annoying as hell.
So you're going to have two different Batman franchises,
and two different Jokers,
and I think three, and I think that's okay because the comics at one point they were running like stuff from Earth 2 and Earth 1 concurrently.
But I don't see it as a problem if they eventually do what Spider-Man,
like a crossover.
Spider-Man No Way Home did.
That would be fun.
Well,
that was genius.
DC already did that with Crisis on Infinite Earths.
In the books,
I'm
but not in the
I'm
film.
talking about in the actual film.
Yeah,
They
would be cool.
They did on the CW shows. They had Ezra Miller from Justice League show up.
The movies.
The movies.
They tied the movies in.
No one gives a fuck about this fucking shows, Phil. Only 13-year-old girls watch that. And you, apparently. I'm just giving you a hard. I'm fucking Joaquin over here. I'm just kidding. All right, enough of Batman, man.
Yeah.
Enough of Batman. Well, you never fucking rated it. What?
I said it's about on par with Batman Forever.
No. We could talk an hour about Batman. It's 80 years
the balloon system, homie.
Probably like out of what? Out of 5?
Yeah.
Probably like a 3.
What about you?
I mean, am I allowed to give my context too? Or
Yeah,
are we still trying to cut the Batman
I ranted, you can
short?
rant. I ranted, you can rant.
Hey, go ahead. No,
I mean,
see, that's why I don't. You're worried about spoil. I don't give a fuck. Just spoil it for me. Look, at this point, people watch it.
You know what? I tell it to you like this. All right, here's my perspective of the film. It gave me something. For one, Robert Pattinson's performance, if I'm being honest, was solid, but not something that I would do backflips over. And I think the main issue is we didn't get to see a whole lot of Bruce Wayne doing Bruce Wayne things. And that's because he's still figuring out how to do this. He hasn't figured out that he has to have two dual identities. It was a similar problem but it was a similar thing in Batman Begins, except in Batman Begins, they knocked that out with a conversation where Alfred's like, you have to have a day job and a presence. Yeah. And they just haven't quite gotten to that. But so I want to see more. And that's something that like every interview every like review I've read across the board has said the same thing, whether it was a negative or a positive review. We want to see where this goes. I concur. The one thing it did give me that I've never seen in any of the Batman films before that I really wanted, is that we got Batman the Detective.
Is that? But didn't they have that in Christian Bale's too?
Kinda. They had that taste.
They had that scene where he has like the really elaborate system with the animatronic gun and the concrete things, where he's trying to like recreate the bullet pattern so he can rebuild a bullet casing that he doesn't have and pull the thumbprint off. And when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense how that's supposed to work, but he's a detective, just go with it.
Right.
And we got a hint of that in '89 when he solves the Joker's thing where he poisoned all those products, and he fucking brings Vicky Vale to the Batcave and says, here, give that to the press. I did all the work off screen.
Yeah.
Right. But this actually shows him doing full-on detective
He didn't
work.
do it off screen. Didn't he give it to Lucius Fox?
Lucius Fox didn't exist in the '89 film.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. He was in the comics, but not in the film.
Never mind. Sorry.
So basically, we got to see that. We got to see that, and quite frankly, as awesome as Batman is in the comics as a character, is like the martial artist and he's so good at all these things, like the physicality aspect of it, the real reason he's a member of the Justice League is because he can think. Because you've got Superman who could, in the Silver Age, could pull a moon on a chain, right? And modern times he's not that strong, but he's still ridiculously strong. You have Flash who's super fast. You have Aquaman who, there's all these incredibly physical specimens on the team, but Batman is there because he's smarter than everyone in the room. And like, it shows you that he is smarter than everyone. I mean, he and this version of Jim Gordon have a very good sort of respect for each other. There's a back and forth, but Batman does all the nitty-gritty detective work, and I'm all here for it. Yes, it would have been nice to see a James Bond-like Batman film, but to be frank, we already had paramilitary Batman before in the Nolan movies. Yes, I do want to see this version of Batman pal around with Superman at some point, but eventually, you know, we'll get to that point. We'll get to the aliens, and we'll get to all the more, hopefully, like crazy stuff, but I got to see a Batman that I've never seen on camera before. I've only read it in like The Long Halloween, where he's trying to figure out a murder mystery, or like the Year One by Frank Miller, where he's like doing on the ground investigation level. I've only read that stuff, but this is the first time I've seen it, and for me, this just on that alone, and like, you know, and everybody's performances, they came pretty well. You know, it was solid mostly across the board. I can't think of any actor that stuck out to me as like, this performance was terrible.
I was excited that Paul Dano was cast as the Riddler.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he turns in a very unnerving performance. It wasn't what I expected from Riddler. There's a little bit of quirkiness to the character that he brings.
They could have hired me as the fucking Penguin instead of getting a hot guy to...
You know, that's one thing that I wasn't really on board with at first. The idea that Penguin was just like a member of the Italian mob, specifically if they're local mobsters. Like, Penguin is kind of his own thing.
He's a politician.
At some point later on, yes, and a business proprietor and all those things, but Penguin's whole thing is that, at least in the books and in the animated series, he's a guy who's a lowlife that aspires to be in high society.
Okay, but I still want to get your balloon rating.
I know. Are we done? Are we at the hour yet?
It's almost. I don't want to do 30 minutes of Batman. It's 30 minutes of Batman.
80 fucking years.
I know.
We can do an entire episode on this.
I know. That's what scares me.
We could get so many comic book heads in here on this episode. It'd be crazy.
I know. We will.
You're like, no, not today's not the day.
Well,
I hear you.
Because we got no, but go ahead.
But no. I thought that like the Penguin's performance was fine.
I know Penguin inspired. It's like he's supposed to be a mob boss, kind of, right?
Yeah. Who aspires to be in high society.
Yeah.
Like, his whole thing is like
Pablo Escobar.
He's like, I want to be invited to tea time with I want to sit down and have wine with the mayor but he's not. He's the joke is that he's too gruff and too crass to be accepted by these high society types. So he doesn't realize it.
I know he inspired the character Kingpin in Marvel.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. But this version of the character is just like, no, I'm in the mob. This is what I do. You know, he has no delusions about himself, which that guy could have played anybody other than Penguin. You could have had Penguin be a separate thing, but the performance was good. It was fine. He was good as the position of the film that he played in. But everybody delivered a decent performance. Is it going to go to the Oscars? Not necessarily. Is it something that like I would, you know, it's like I saw The Dark Knight and was like, this has got to be nominated for a thing. I didn't walk out of this film feeling that way, and it's not because it was bad. It's just, you know, there was certain things where I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? It's a solid thing. If I were to give you, what is it? How many balloons? 5? I give it a solid 3.5 out of 5 balloons.
It's more than you. Now you guys have to explain to each other. No, I'm just kidding. Speaking of ratings,
sure,
and things being nominated for things. That's a good segue. That's a good segue, right?
Yeah. No, solid.
Phil, You worked on a film that was nominated and won a couple of things, man.
I mean, we both did. We made a movie.
All three of us.
Yeah.
I helped shoot it.
Yeah, that.
Your face is on the poster.
It is, but I didn't submit it to stuff. I didn't edit stuff. I just ate and fucking said shit in front of the camera.
But you're the star.
I know, but it's really the background stuff that gets the shit to go through.
That's true.
I just provided the story. Oh, stop it. Tell us about how it was to. Well, first of all, how long have we been working on this?
So we made a movie. It's called Unhealthy Comedian.
Documentary.
It's a documentary. It's streaming now on Plex. We've been working on this for what, 2 years?
Has it been 2 years?
Because we started the documentary right before we started the podcast. So the film is.
Yeah, you're right.
We've been working on this longer than we've been working on the show.
Holy shit, that is true.
Isn't it? That's scary.
My weight's been fluctuating dramatically.
Up and down.
Like a fucking tsunami wave. Yeah. Well, so we started about 2 years ago, and we filmed a lot of stuff back then. You want to know something? I haven't watched it yet. I put it on the other day on Plex, and I hit play, and I watched the beginning part, and then Corday calls me, and we have a 2-hour conversation. All of a sudden, the film's over. I see Joaquin running across the line. I was like, "Oh no, it's been 2 hours," and then so whatever. Then I next day I came home from work. I hit play when Plex hit play again. I started watching it, and then something distracted me. All of a sudden, I was laying down and I fell asleep. And I totally missed it. But it's won awards. It's been... How many film festivals did it get screened at?
So we got into 3 festivals. We won a Best Feature Film Award from one of them. So that's pretty dope.
Which festival?
We never mentioned this because...
It's on the poster. It's like the Direct Online Film Festival. Yeah.
Okay, that was the first one.
So what I want to talk about is JD, why did we make this film?
Well, see, sometimes you just be bored as fuck and like, no, I'm just kidding.
I mean, boredom is the source for creativity.
It is.
An episode on that.
Yeah. No. I kind of... All right, you want the truth?
I want the truth.
Do you want the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you handle the truth? Look, I thought it would be a great idea to use a real topic, which is something that I am struggling with. But I wanted to, and I didn't ever mention this to you before. So look at me when I'm saying this because I don't want you to. Okay. I wanted to kind of touch on the voice party on it so that wherever we send these to be screened at, one, there's a real topic that it's an interesting topic and it's something that really affects people and a lot of people die.
They struggle with it.
Struggle with it. And it is something I struggle with, obviously.
The film shows the struggle.
Yes. But it also threw the voice party name out to people in all over the country. Whoever saw it. What country? What states was it? Like, do you know what states it was screened at?
I don't.
But it was all over the states.
Yeah, it was.
What better way to like advertise something through something like that?
Exactly.
So now those people that watched it, they know about the voice party. Fuck it. Eventually, if everyone knows your name, they'll know who you are.
That's right. We probably have brand new listeners tuning in at this very moment.
I appreciate
on this very
all
Monday.
And I'm still and also I like that I didn't lose any weight during the
spoilers.
Well, yeah, because it's like one of those things where like, yeah, this shit's hard. It's hard. Obviously, look at me.
It is hard.
It's hard, and it's like these documentaries show you like you have hope. I want to take that away.
I mean, I think it's a good thing to show the honest struggle that a person can have, and it's all right if the film doesn't end with you getting to your goals.
I didn't want to take away the hope. I was just kidding about that. But like, there's like a thing always with the documentaries, like you just got to do it. Like you got it. And it's, I do appreciate that, but it's also like, it doesn't happen overnight. And it definitely didn't happen on that fucking documentary.
Well, I remember when we were starting it, I think you had the idea to do the documentary. Yeah. Because you were like, I want to lose weight. And I feel like if we document it, it forces me to be accountable. And yeah, we misjudged that one. So
I said this on stage. I just wasted everyone's time.
So
hope you enjoyed your show.
So what's funny is me and the fiance, we watched the movie the day it dropped. And then we got to the end, and she was like, "That's sad. He didn't lose any weight." And I was like, "I didn't have any control over that part, babe. That was JD's part. I did my part."
Yeah, he just pressed.
She
record.
said that like she just now realized.
But
I'm working on it.
Well, I remember
his face said, "Are you really though?"
Well, so here's the thing, because behind the scenes it wasn't as straightforward. Yeah. Like, we started working on the film, and then it kind of got put on the back burner as the podcast took off. And then the pandemic hit, and we all had to adapt to that and find a way to keep the show going.
And in the pandemic, I spiraled into even worse eating habits
and
than before.
What I had done, because I hate starting stuff and not finishing it. So one day I sat down, I took all the footage we had shot for the documentary already. I took footage from the podcast, because we had just started filming the podcast. I took footage from your stand-up comedy, which originally I wasn't going to incorporate, or at least incorporate as much, but I was just pulling footage. Whatever footage I had of you, I was pulling, and I made a trailer to kind of show you, like, hey, remember this thing we started? Sure would be nice to finish it. And I think showing you what that trailer kind of lit a fire under you, because it made it tangible and it made it real. And you're like, oh, shit.
The accountability kicked in. The accountability kicked in a little bit more with the trailer.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, shit, I forgot we were doing this.
So then we ramped back up and powered through finishing it. And what was interesting is, by doing it that way, we were able to kind of shape the story as we went. Because I remember I was editing it as we went, because I didn't want to, sit down and go through 2 years worth of footage once we're done. Yeah. So I would send you guys hey, here's the first 15 minutes. Let me know what you think. Hey, here's the first half hour. Let me know what you think.
And I never watched any of it when you sent it. I don't know why it's hard to watch.
Yeah. Well, the reason I
think I would have watched it if I would have lost weight.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, by doing it that way, we could kind of see, you know what, there's a lot of JD in here. We should get some other voices in here. You know what, we should kind of even things out and move stuff around and kind of pace stuff out. And then that's also when we realized that the 100th episode was coming up, and it was taking place a month before the 5K you said you were going to run. So I'm like, hey, these two events are a month apart. We could use these as the things the film is building towards. We can build towards the 100th, and we can build towards the 5K, and those will be the third act. That'll be the finale of the film, is us building up to these two events that are happening back to back.
There's an alternate universe where we're still working on this documentary because you haven't lost the weight yet. You know, and
this is that, homie. What are you talking about?
But the documentary is done, so I mean, you're still working on losing the weight, but the documentary is done, so it's like. Yeah. But on Earth 2, we're still making the.
Remember that meme you sent me where it's like yourself that looks different and like an angel appear to you, and like, this is what you would have looked like if you wouldn't have worked on yourself, and then you're like, what the hell?
I said that to a mutual friend of ours. I told a mutual friend of ours that you were good, that the film was going to have an endpoint at the race, and he went, "Oh, does Phil not think he can lose the weight in time?" And I was all like, "No, it's not. It's not that. He definitely believes he'll lose the weight eventually.
It's definitely that."
Yeah. So here's the thing.
Yeah. What's the thing?
The two hardest parts of making this film.
Yeah.
Was that goddamn 5K and then the distribution. And I'll talk about the distribution later. All right? But that goddamn 5K, because you guys were there.
That was hard.
The day of the 5K, I called you as I was getting ready to leave, and you were telling me you were sick, your stomach was feeling good, you didn't know if you were going to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm just on the phone like, you motherfucker.
I threw up halfway through the race.
Well, I was just like, you son of a bitch. This is the end of the fucking movie. You're doing this fucking race. You understand me? This is the end. We've name dropped the 5K like 30 times in this goddamn film. You're running the fucking 5K.
I was in bed. Can we just do it next year?
I mean, give you more time to lose the weight, yeah.
Right? And then, I think the 5K was supposed to start, the event was supposed to start at 10, and I got there at 9:15, and it had already started, and I'm like, the fuck? Why is it starting early?
Yeah,
and then I got there at 10:30.
And you guys were running late.
All right, fine.
Well, then, you guys were running late, and then as you're, getting checked in, they do the ready, set, go, and I'm like, how the fuck did I miss ready, set, go? It's a race. That's the second most important part after the finish line.
Well,
so I was
busy at the food vendor.
I was waiting for my grandmother's caregiver before I could go.
But like I had no excuse because I was supposed. It was I fucked up.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just you. It was like the event starting early, and
it didn't start early. It started on time. I was late.
Is a number of things, because the previous years at the 5K, like the event would start at like 10 and then the race would start at 11 because they would do like festivities beforehand. No. Here they started everything at like 9 but they put 10 on the flyer.
Well, the reason for that is because the host of whose name I shall not mention went.
If you've seen the movie, you know who the host.
But
is.
the host was basically, he told me that his attitude was, well, there are all these people here waiting. Why keep them waiting? Let's just start now.
I would have done the same thing.
And I'm like, but we're making a movie.
No, but
I assumed he knew.
But the event's more important. And if people were ready to race, just let them race. And also,
the flyer said 10.
It looked like it might have.
That's their fault for coming early.
It looked like it might have rained. So that's why they started off a little bit early.
But it was one of those things where like everything that could go wrong kind of did go wrong. But
it all makes for a good story someday.
It did. It didn't.
Not right now, but eventually.
it didn't turn out all the way I wanted it to, and I was really like in a bad mood the whole time.
I saw that. But we had tacos afterwards.
Thankfully, Tony Tamayo saved my ass because I knew he was doing a video for the event, and I had reached out to him and I was like, I can't be in two places at once. You got that kick-ass drone. I want to use that drone footage in my movie. If I give you everything I shoot for you to use in your thing, can you give me everything you shoot for me to use in my thing? And he was like, sure. And so most of that 5K footage is from Tony, which is why it looks so goddamn beautiful.
Beautiful.
Like I just stood at the finish line, but like I brought a bunch of like rigs and stuff. I didn't have time to go to my car to get them because as soon as they did ready, set, go, JD was like, fuck it, I don't need a number. And you just did the 5K without your number.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have time to go to my car and get any rigs or anything. So, Joaquin, you just ran holding a fucking camcorder?
I imagine had I shown up earlier, then we would have scouted the location, and then you would have just stuck me somewhere either like on the end or in the middle of the route and had me take position. Because I know you said Tony was going to be there early. I was like, okay, so 3 of us. So we just take 3 different spots. I didn't realize I was going to be running. If I had known that I was going to be running with you, I'd have trained with you all those months that you were training.
Like train as in choo-choo train? Like
no, you were running. You were organizing voice party team runs, and I was like,
none of those happened. We didn't train. The only training I did was on my own, barely, like a year before. And then I prepared myself in like, I was very unprepared, but my job's so physical that like I walked the entire thing and then ran and then walked and then ran. But halfway through I was like, I'm just gonna rent this bike, dude. Fuck it. But I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah, and we pulled it off.
We pulled it off.
Like we pulled it off. Between what I shot and what you shot and what Tony shot,
I want to say something.
We were able to make it work.
Yep.
I want to say this right now. I'm running it again this year, but this time I'm training hard. I've been using the elliptical.
So when we were making a movie, it was whatever. Now that the movie's done, you're like, all right. Well, what's funny is I remember.
Well, like, it's not about the movie. It's about my health, Phil. Well, it's not about the movie.
Son of a bitch. I remember showing you like the ending, like how I was gonna end it, and you were like, "Oh, you're gonna put my weight there." Hold on. And then like every day for like a week straight, you were sending me pictures of your scale. I'm down to 307. I'm down to 307. Can you change it to 307?
Fucking fasting, bro. Like you seen Raging Bull?
Yeah.
When he's trying to kill the weight, he's like 2 more pounds. Come on. He's like working out in the sweatsuit, and he's like, I'm gonna get a little water. I'm like, no, you gotta leave. That was me trying to like, all right, I'm trying to adjust the weight. But then after like, I guess we decided on releasing the documentary later on. I was like, fuck it. You know what? I could go eat a cheeseburger right now. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing is like, you know, I'm assuming you guys have seen, people listening to this have seen the movie already. It's streaming on Plex, so go ahead and watch it.
Plex.tv.
Spoilers. Didn't lose weight.
Yeah, end of the movie, Jay didn't lose any fucking weight. So you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it reminds me of like the end of the first Rocky movie.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't beat Apollo Creed, but he went the distance.
And I went the distance. You went the distance too. So that's beautiful that, because this motherfucker had a camera. I was just fucking like, you know.
Look, man, I am dedicated to get the shot, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I don't know if any of my shots, well, no, some of my shots did make it.
I mean,
but I remember running by, he was like, shit, none of this shit's going to be cut over. Fuck it.
And you know what? I was kind of surprised that, I mean, I was exhausted, but the day after I felt more tired from work sometimes. And I walked more at work sometimes than I did there. So I feel like I could do it. I'm just lazy.
All right.
It's just getting me to do it.
So
if I'm not being paid to do it, I guess that's okay.
So let me ask you this, JD. Now that the film is out and it's streaming, and people can watch it in their homes, and people have watched it, and they've reached out to you and showered you with all kinds of like praise and words of wisdom, and oh man, you're so brave and everything. How does it feel knowing that people out there have seen your story?
For at first, it was a little uncomfortable. It's never, even after I perform, I'm just a little like, ugh, I said that, you know. But based on some of the feedback I got some feedback that I think I've shared with you guys. That's really touching. Like, holy shit, really? Oh wow. Like, you know, someone said something about I related to this because of my own issues with you know, weight, and it was great to see. It was like mixture of funny and serious stuff. So like, you know, someone said it made their day. Like, oh, cool, right on. And if it touches someone at any level, that's cool.
I mean, honestly, making someone's day
that's already enough. So I feel like that's. And are you happy with
like they enjoyed it that much?
Are you happy with the documentary?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, with everything I do, I look back and there's things I wish I would have done differently. You know,
I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm fucking sorry.
God damn it. It's not all about you. I mean, technically it is all about you because your face is on the poster. But that's besides the point. That's neither here nor there.
Phil said I, meaning not you.
Yeah, no, I am happy with the film, especially considering how it was put together and all the stuff going on.
Regardless of the outcome.
You know, and it was a lot of work. You know, we didn't touch on distribution. That was a lot of work on itself. We'll probably talk about that another point.
We're doing that at the Q&A.
Yeah, we'll do it because we're going to screen the film.
We're going to screen the film.
And we're going to do a Q&A at the screening.
I'll lose weight by then.
Son of a bitch.
Show up all skinny and be like, well,
so I can talk about
the sequel.
I can talk about the struggles with distribution there, but it's like I got friends who like threw their life away and had kids. And after they have their first kid, no matter how stressful and how much work it is, they're always like, oh, I kind of want to have another one. And I never understood that until now. Because, yeah, this film was a lot of work to make and put out and release. And I'm already like, you know, it'd be nice to do another one. I kind of want to do another one. So
we could do another one and include some of the same people in the documentary that are also struggling with that. By the way, I want to get this off my chest. Yesterday when I brought up Christina Pickles, I mentioned her weight that it had gone up again. I only did that because that's what she asked me to mention as I was bringing her up.
Well, I was talking to Christina before the show, and I was like, oh, you know, the film's out. You were great in it. You know, I've got a lot of good feedback about your story. And she was just like, I feel bad because I've gained some weight since then. I was like, that's okay. So's JD.
They threw their life away and had kids.
Tell people before we go. I got any more things to add, but before we go, let's tell people where they can watch the film.
So the film is streaming on Plex right now.
Free,
streaming free on Plex
because we love you.
So feel free and watch it. Support us. This was a lot of damn work to make, but the film is out. It's streaming now. I was gonna wait until like after we do a screening to then like promote that it's streaming, but it dropped and I'm like, oh shit, it's out already. Okay, I kind of need this to perform well, so here, people, watch.
Plex.tv.
Which is why we're doing the Q&A with the streaming to kind of give people more bang for their buck and added value. And it's like, hey, watch the film and then talk with us and do a Q&A and we'll shed some light. And, you know, I can tell you what a fucking nightmare distributing a film is.
It's still on Plex.
It is.
It is. So check it out. It's free. It features all of us here in the Voice Party.
Oh, yes.
and a couple other people that we've had on the podcast before. So
yeah, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff about going into us, how we make this show.
Yeah, and it's inspired some people to make documentaries that are in the circle. So
yeah.
You got anything to add before we close off this episode?
I just got to say, this is like the most exciting film project that I've done since my last exciting film project.
We have something coming that's going to be on par with this. So we'll talk about that later. We still gotta, but yeah.
And that's great when you can say that your last project is your current project is more exciting than your last project, and it's a continuing trend. And please, Plex.tv, check us out. That's it.
Thank you guys for listening. That's been The Voice Party. We're out.
All right.
Oh, man. I'm going to go cook those burgers, bro.